In 2024, Ricochet got a fresh coat of paint. He was still light-skinned, but now he was all elite. This was the exact type of green grass he needed. In WWE, Ricochet was an internet wrestling darling with ungodly athletic ability. WWE's main event scene is the most exclusive in wrestling, but unfortunately, it's also where many internet darlings go to die. And after being the Walking Dead for 5 years, Ricochet was ready to move on. Ricochet was a perfect fit for AEW. He had an indie wrestling pedigree that would make Ray Birchfield Jr. cream in his pants. WWE does not give a shit about Dragon Gate, New Japan, PWG, or Dave Meltzer. Billionaire edgelord Tony Khan grew up on message boards shitposting about all of the above. So TK and Ricochet was a match made in heaven. And it still is, just not on television. Because professionally, Ricochet has imploded. By starting over, Ricochet has also regressed. By moving forward with AEW, he went backwards. His case for the AEW main event ended quickly and painfully in his first year. Now he's a paper mid-card champion and a glorified comedy manager. Despite being in AEW, which is supposed to be where the best wrestle, Ricochet is known more for his Twitter posts than his promos or even his matches. Ricochet most recently went viral after pissing and moaning about WWE tarnishing his legacy. In doing so, Ricochet said the quiet part out loud, that he feels his run in AEW did nothing to help his legacy. In the grand scheme of things, Ricochet believes his legacy is ruined, and it's all the Fed's fault. Today, we're going to talk about Ricochet's failed redemption arc and how Twitter Ricky became a prototype for how to ruin your career with a keyboard. Subscribe and mulatto. Ricochet made his AEW debut on its biggest show, and honestly, he was really no different than he was in WWE. At All In 2024, Ricochet was not booked like somebody fans should care about. He showed up in a casino gauntlet and got a surprise pop. Good start. Problem is, that gauntlet was filled with popular AEW stars, most of whom got bigger pops than Ricochet did. By the end of the match, the biggest story was the return of Nigel McGuinness in his home country. Instead of winning in his debut, Ricochet literally disappeared into a sea of wrestlers and had nothing to do with the finish. Christian Cage won instead. In his first match with AEW, Ricochet was already doing an impression of his whole WWE career by literally getting lost in the shuffle in favor of a former WWE World Champion. This would set the tone for what has been an unequivocally disappointing career. If you go by Ricochet's own standard he set for himself by signing with AEW, Trevor fell well short of advancing past the mid-card. Ricochet didn't want to start over with the Bron Breakers and Ilja Dragunovs of the world. His words, not mine.
I feel like I was starting over again. I felt like I was starting over with the Bron Breakers and the Ilyas.
Both Bron and Ilja have since passed Ricochet as part of WWE. And in a company with far fewer championships, Bron and Ilja both won main roster titles before Ricochet. Let's break this down in wrestling nerd math. In the 2024 PWI 500, Bron Breakker ranked number 52. Ilja was number 30. AEW Ricochet was number 63. The following year, Ilja did not qualify due to injury. Bron Breakker skyrocketed to number 24. Ricochet was number 41. Ilja came back from a one-year injury only to win a title faster than Ricochet could win a title in over a year with AEW. Is that WWE's fault too? Ricochet failed to surpass the guys he didn't want to start over with. And even in AEW, which has more belts than the tens of books sold by Jonathan Snowden, Tony Khan had to create an internet wrestling championship for his favorite little bald troll. But by the time Ricochet won the newly minted national title in November, his reputation was already compromised, and it was about to get much worse. The elephant in the room of Ricochet's time in AEW has been his rampant social media activity. This is the Antonio Brown of wrestling Twitter. I covered Ricochet's insane online behavior in this video, where the thumbnail is based on a real tweet sent by Ricochet inviting a Twitter user to his private parts. At the time, this just seemed like Trevor lost his cool after a bad day on South African Twitter. In reality, this was the new Ricochet. Gone were the days of being celebrated as an underrated talent misused by the machine. Ricochet got his chance to shine in AEW on the strength of his wrestling. He failed because he sucks. These days, his biggest feuds aren't coming against his contemporaries in AEW, it's coming against the IWC. Ricochet developed a habit for going after anybody with AEW criticism. Given how bad AEW has been over the past few years and how tribal the internet will always be, there's no shortage of AEW hate online. And trying to control the narrative against AEW will only amplify the noise. Ricochet came for yours truly after I mocked Tony Khan for cowering to the sickos by changing Mina Shirakawa's theme music. I think we can all agree that this was a mistake for little Trevor, but how could he know? I'm usually very friendly until I let those finger in the booty jokes fly. Ricochet feuded with Javon Evans, which resulted in Javon hilariously calling Tony Khan a crackhead. Javon is only 22 and just joined WWE's main roster. The rookie is already only 6 spots behind Ricochet on this year's PWI 500. By next year, he won't even be in old man Ricochet's hemisphere. This very fact is at the heart of a much bigger problem leading to Ricochet's self-sabotage. In 2026, Ricochet is a fixture in the comments on social media, something that top guys in WWE and AEW avoid. It's rare to see Jon Moxley even post a tweet, let alone respond to comments. The same could be said about Swerve Strickland, Hangman Adam Page, and most AEW top stars. Too much exposure online can dilute a wrestler's aura, and it makes it easier to conflate a wrestler with the very same fans he's feuding with. Telling a fan with tens of followers to suck your dick makes you seem more like a fan than a top star, because the few and the proud who do make it to the tippy top spend more time honing their craft than trolling their craft. This career decline for Ricochet is clearly getting to him. Despite winning a lowly title in AEW, and maybe even because of it, Ricochet's crashouts have gotten progressively worse. This month, Ricochet blamed WWE for ruining his legacy. Ricochet previously melted down over WWE killing his love for wrestling. Aww. But this time, he used an interesting set of words, because now he was saying they ruin his legacy altogether. WWE kills legacies and the love of the sport. It's what they do best. What followed was a series of manic replies from Trevor that just made things worse. This is totally unrelated, but a silly man once said, "Coke and tweeting is not a good combination." Again, totally unrelated. Ricochet's whining garnered veiled responses from the likes of Bronson Reed, Hurricane Helms, and even Sami Zayn, who appeared to respond to Ricochet's legacy talk with this viral Mike Tyson clip hilariously explaining his legacy to a little girl. Ricochet was crashing out again. 2 years after his WWE departure, he's still crying about his old employer like a backup high school quarterback who blames his head coach because he didn't get to start over Lamar Jackson. In his bottomless pit of complaints, Ricochet rarely speaks about how AEW restored his love for pro wrestling, or even about how he bounced back with a booker who believed in him. Because he didn't bounce back. Ricochet did have a booker who believed in him, but when he got his chance, several months of Nielsen ratings data suggested that not only was Ricochet not a draw, his shit segments consistently led to declines in viewership. A recent surge from a controversial AEW star has exposed Ricochet more than a bad tweet ever could. Andrade has done everything he can to tarnish his own legacy, not only in pro wrestling, but specifically in AEW. Andrade forced his way out of AEW for WWE. While in AEW, he took to Twitter to tell Sammy Guevara that it was on site, or as they say in Espanol, a la vista. Andrade went on to fight Sami Zayn for real at a Dynamite taping. When he went back to WWE, he got fired for disciplinary reasons. Then he went back to AEW in a way that almost got Tony Khan sued. Andrade also publicly buried Dave Meltzer multiple times while under an AEW contract. Dave Meltzer is Tony Khan's Valentine. For all we know, Tony Khan might still be a virgin, and talking shit about his literal Valentine in public is usually a death sentence in AEW. Yet still, Andrade called out that old wrong white man for the liar that he is, my hero. And despite all the backstage drama and red flags, Andrade is 2 wins from a world title and is active in AEW's main event picture right now. All the while, Andrade never complained about WWE or AEW ruining his legacy. Talking about, WWE es muy malo. WWE arruinó mi legado. Mi legacia. In fact, Andrade thanked WWE after his exit despite leaving on terrible terms. He focused more on reinventing himself as an OF gigolo than complaining about what he didn't get in WWE. Ricochet is the anti-Andrade. He does nothing but kiss Tony Khan and Dave Meltzer's ass on social media, but he only has himself to blame. Ricochet's shortcomings in more serious angles, especially on the mic, led to him falling down the card in AEW. Now he has a sympathy belt where the whole gimmick is to defend it outside of AEW. The national title is basically a plane ticket to anywhere but the main event, and Ricochet probably has to pay for it. Ricochet bet on himself and busted, proving his gambling addiction did just as much damage to his career than his addiction to X. No, I meant X. No, not that X, this X. I always say there's no such thing as burning bridges in pro wrestling as long as you're a star, and I truly believe that. But Ricochet isn't a star, not even close. He's nowhere near talented enough to talk the shit that he talks online and still get a push. Ricochet is a pro wrestling long snapper popping off to the star wide receiver. And the day he tweets his way out of AEW, he'd be booked as a bigger joke in WWE than he ever was in Jacksonville. And think about the ground that covers. Now that his AEW career is far less significant than his WWE career, Ricochet's using social media to create scandals the same way your president uses Truth Social to distract from the Epstein files. Ricochet is right. His legacy did tank in AEW. He isn't the main eventer he thought he would be. But it certainly wasn't WWE's fault. One can argue it wasn't even AEW's fault given the elusive, albeit empty, opportunities he was granted. You either get over in this business or you don't. And those who blame everyone but themselves for their failure will always remain just that. A big, bald, beige failure. And for more on Ricochet's history of social media insanity, check out this playlist. Whom do you blame for ruining Ricochet's legacy? Tell me in the comments!